guys, so today I want to talk to you about flirting and how to make you an uninhibited flirter. Believe it or not, the most common thing that men come to me for coaching is how to express their attraction for someone without feeling shut down or holding back that compliment because they fear the rejection, they fear that they might come across as predatory. So how do you actually become amazing at flirting? Make sure you stay till the end because the last tip is my favorite. So let's start with the first one. What is flirting? It could be defined as being really vulnerable with somebody, feeling of being seen, building attention and release. Someone said, oh, it's when you have an agenda. I wouldn't agree with that, and I'll address that in a moment. But I would like to define it as playful connection. Play. Play should be my middle name, Haneen Play Khan. How do we build that? How do we build play into connection with others? Why is it so vulnerable, showing ourselves in our full true colors? I'll give you a quick bit of theory. Mate talks about the competing needs for authenticity and attachment when we're younger, okay? We need the attachment with our caregiver because it's life and death. If our caregiver suddenly abandons us or hates us, we think we're going to be homeless and not be fed. And so naturally, we are scrambling for that connection. We need that connection in order to survive. If we had a caregiver that perhaps might be a bit more neglectful or instilled a lot of that fear of breaking that connection with you, you will carry that into adulthood. And then what happens is that we learn to sacrifice our authenticity, i.e. what our real needs are, expressing our boundaries and all of that in service of connection for the other. We believe that to be in connection, we need to sacrifice our authenticity. This kind of gives rise to a sense of perhaps I'm not worthy enough, or perhaps putting people on a pedestal, especially women, and always putting their needs at first ahead of yours could mean that you withdraw and don't show any vulnerability because you're worried about how that might be perceived and that you could be rejected. Or if you're like me, you might engage in unhealthy patterns where you're seeking some of the familiar kind of characteristics of your previous dynamic in childhood with your current partners. Because again, yes, it feels familiar and there's some subconscious part of you that's trying to absolve yourself of that. Your subconscious is saying, oh, this person was like my parents were, but now they like me, now they love me, and I'm getting a chance to turn the tables and change that story. So how do we solve for this? How do we bring playful connection and uninhibited authenticity into connection with another? So here are my 4 key tips. That sounds so clickbaity, but stay tuned for the last one because that one is the most important one. So we know that play involves some element of being true to yourself. How do we teach ourselves that it's okay and that it's safe to do that again? So number 1, I want you to think about what contributes to a sense of safety and unsafety when you're in connection with someone. For example, I seek safety through the eye contact that someone is maintaining with me, someone's level of presence, not just with me, but with themselves. I can tell that by the way they're able to be really honest with me and speak for their current experience right there and then. And that makes me feel safe because then I don't need to take care of them. There's a part of me that goes, they're tuned into their experience. They're able to communicate what they need and what they don't need. Okay, I can trust them and I can relax. Another thing that helps me is their ability to be in stillness or silence. Not that we have to be like that all the time, but I love it when someone can feel okay in some of those pauses that happen naturally, or a lingered eye gaze. It just helps me to slow down because I'm an energetic at heart. I also sense it in somebody's voice and their tone, a warmth that I may be picking up. If someone is curious about me and asks me questions, that also really helps me feel safe because I usually have a thing about taking up space. And if someone is inviting me to open up and take that space, this person wants to know about my world. It's safe for me to take up space. And a really important one is a lack of an agenda. The moment I feel like someone is trying to extract something from me, I immediately feel withdrawn, or like a wall kind of goes up. Or it might even be coming from me subconsciously. And if that's the case, that's when I know that I've lost touch with myself and connection with myself. And lastly, touch. Oh my God, my biggest love language is touch. So whenever I greet somebody, I need to be in that long embrace for a good 30 seconds just to calm my nervous system and to feel okay, I'm calibrating to this connection, and then I can go into the cognitive space. If someone does a really brief oh hi, that kind of makes me feel a bit frazzled and I'm not really sure how to sink into that experience. In terms of what makes me feel unsafe, it's that sense of being rushed, or there's so much stimulus going on, lots of noise and all that. It could be if someone's trying to play games, so I'm not really sure what this person's intention is. Maybe there's a bit of lack of honesty and that's how I'm picking up the game-like behavior. I also pick it up through someone being really cognitive and they're in their head a lot. And so I don't feel that connection from their body, and that also puts me on edge as well myself. Another thing that kind of makes me feel unsafe is actually if I start putting someone on a pedestal and I'm oh my God, this person is is amazing. And that kind of stops me from being connected to myself. So this list helps me prepare and be aware of the kind of characteristics and traits that I'm drawn to that help me to feel safe, and those that just causing a lot of a threat inside my system and stops me from being able to flirt effectively. And awareness is amazing. Awareness equals choice. So once you've built up your list of safety and not safe, I want you to also think about the sensations that are associated with safety. Okay, so what's happening in your body when you are safe? So for me, it's either I feel a frisson of energy coming up, like one that feels containable and exciting, or it could be a really grounded stillness that I feel inside me, that I'm not feeling any kind of tension. There's much deeper breathing happening for me. My body feels relaxed. I feel warmer. And if I feel unsafe, I tend to tense up, I tend to withdraw, I tend to have more shallow breath. All those sorts of things to me are warning signals. And the key thing is that not all warning signals are necessarily unsafe. It just might be that you have those are very edgy spaces for you. So for example, maybe you're engaging in a prolonged eye contact and suddenly you are getting those feelings of unsafety again, or you're feeling the urge to compliment, but you're feeling a wall is coming up and you don't want to say anything. Or maybe you want to tell this person that you're really aroused or attracted or something nice about them. And again, that feels really inhibiting. So my advice in those situations is to practice exploring and expanding those edges. And the best way to practice is in places like my workshops, where I give you that permission to really take up that space. Or it could be things like tantra festivals, play parties, engaging in animal play with your partner, chaotic breathing, sharing this vulnerability with more people, partner dancing. I'm just throwing an idea. So I'm curious what has helped you, if you are on the other side of that, or if you're in the middle of that, what has been helping you? So number 3 is understanding the why. Why is it that you act the way that you do, that you attract the person that you do, the reason your body shuts down the way it does? Why? So other than the obvious societal messaging of, oh, you're seen as a predator, or, oh, you're not sexy enough, have a look at some of your previous sexual and romantic relationships and how you were treated by your partners in the past and what might have happened and what really hurt you. If you can understand why you're attracted to the person that you do or why you have the blocks that you do, again, awareness is choice. Understanding your patterns is yummy, yummy stuff. And fourthly, and finally, my favorite one, I want you to get somatically into flirting, okay? So what do I even mean by that? Our society has superimposed that words have more meaning than our body language, than our voice, than our facial expression. And actually, 90% of what is communicated and what helps you feel safe is exactly that. It's why we can so easily detect that a politician's smile, for example, is really incongruent. They're just smiling with their lower half and not engaging their eyes at all. You know the saying, I wear my heart on my sleeve? It's more accurate to say I wear my heart on my face. So what do I really mean? Stay connected to your body sensations. Have a little bit of the attention on you when you're flirting with someone else. Our tendency is to have 80 to 100% of the person and like, wow, what's their experience? And you kind of forget about what your desires are and how you're feeling in this connection. And trust me, you will come across far more powerfully if you can stay connected to yourself. I do an exercise in my workshops where I get people to kind of move or dance in a way where the attention is just fully on them, whether it's channeling like a sexual energy, whether it's channeling like compassion and love. And then they start to extend a little bit of that attention to the other person while still staying connected to themselves. So maybe it's 80-20. And then it becomes 70-30 until you get to kind of like a 50-50 and you're kind of moving, connecting to yourself while in connection with another. And that is powerful. And trust me, you'll be able to notice the difference. So I know that was long. I hope that was useful. Let me know if it was.